Andy, let's go back in time, shall we? As we often say in this type of interview, you've been involved with Liverpool, Milton Keynes, you scouted for them in the Northwest, also the England setup as well. How did all that come about? Because at the time you were a teacher who then became a head teacher.
Well, it all started at university when you do your first qualification. Start with the school camps and all the young ones. And you just, develop a love and a passion for what you're doing, and one opportunity leads to another opportunity. It's as simple as that, really. I'm the sort of person that's never tried to sit still. I've always looked for opportunities. So the first opportunity was Liverpool schoolboys when I qualified. So that was with a lot of talented players. Paul Mullen, who I think was in one of those sides as a youngster. Wayne Mooney was another name that people would recognise. Before very quickly completing my full badge and then working at Liverpool. So I spent 13 years at Liverpool before moving on and then becoming the assistant manager with Liverpool ladies in the inception of the WSL. Spent 2 years there, and in between times I've done lots of other different things. As you say, was very fortunate to meet Carl Robinson at Liverpool. He moved to the MK Dons as the manager, did some Northwest scouting for them in the year that they got promoted into the Championship, which was nice. Also worked with England schools, started with the under-18 schoolboys, 4 seasons there as the assistant manager and the manager, which were very successful, before then doing similar with the under-15 girls again, which was very successful. In between all of that, spent a year here, 2017-18, before then really concentrating on the end of my head teaching career and moving into retirement, before then getting the opportunity to come back last year. So yeah, I've spent a lifetime running a dual career of teaching and coaching and scouting, if you like, building up capital with people, with off-field stuff such as strategy, visioning, governance, all those sorts of things, as well as the on-field stuff with all of the talent identification, the training regimes and the holistic development of players. So 30 years jam-packed of lots of different things, really.
You've mentioned 1 or 2 well-known names there, but during your time with Liverpool in particular, you also came across, at that time, young boys that here at the New Saints we are more than familiar with today.
Yeah, that's right. Should have mentioned them, of course. John Rutledge, a very, very talented young player, is an under-12, under-13. Was in the same side as Martin Kelly, and the pair of them, were standout players at that age. Paul Harrison, of course, I'd worked with him before that as a young goalkeeper. He was in my under-10s or under-11s at Liverpool. I forget which side it was, but again, you could see the talent, and been very privileged to work with a lot of players. Some that people will know, the likes of Conor Cody, for example, who's obviously at Wolves and has been the captain for England in the last season or so. But a lot of players that go right the way down the divisions, other players that are in the JD Cymru Premier. Paul Rutherford, who's at Bala, Callum Woods, who's on the scene as well. So it's been a privilege to work with those young guys that have come through.
Fantastic names there, Andy, and must be proud as well to have played some part in their development as footballers.
Yeah, and obviously right across the spectrum, from grassroots right the way to international. I've worked with a lot of players. We're mentioning obviously the names that would be familiar to those people that are listening to this, but there's a lot of names, down the leagues and those that are playing in non-league, etc., that I've had the privilege of working with and just trying to influence, their mindset, their lifestyle, whether it's in the game, out of the game, and just being ambitious in whatever it is that they want to do.
And what about the women's game, Andy? Because it's true to say that that's your main focus now. Was it a conscious decision of yours to pursue a path in that direction, or was it just one of those things that we find so often in the world of football? It just happened, and it happened at the right time in the right place.
Yeah, it's exactly how you describe it, the latter of those two. I was moving out of Liverpool's academy and moved in 2008. I moved straight into the women's side and spent 4 years there in the Northern Prem, where we were very successful, and then in the WSL in the inception years. So that opportunity to see how the FA in England developed the WSL right from the start obviously stood me in good stead coming here this year, as the FAW, launched the inaugural season of the Adjam Premier. So I guess in terms of the coaches and the clubs within the Adjam Premier this year, we had a slight advantage because I knew a little bit of what that might look like.
And you, as you've already said, Andy, you were here previously when TNS women, as they are now known, were TNS ladies. How did that connection happen?
Well, again, that was just an opportunity. I was out of coaching at that time. I was scouting for the MK Dons, and I was keen to get back in to coaching. I saw the advert for the position, connected with Ian Brazier, came across, was interviewed, met with him on a couple of occasions, and the rest is history, as they say. I'm very fortunate that he gave me that opportunity along with the rest of the board. The team at that time welcomed me, and we formed a good, strong relationship with Lawrence Wilson. And the season that I had was hugely enjoyable, but again, unfortunately, because of the pressures of work and the demands of work, one season was all that I could manage, because obviously I live a fair distance from here and was required to travel every day, and it just wasn't sustainable at that time.
And in terms of highlights from that particular time here at Park Hall, would it be true to say that the trip to the northeast of England to take on Newcastle United women and beating them on their own turf was possibly the highlight of that campaign?
Yeah, we can't dismiss that moment because it's such a memorable occasion, but obviously in terms of the team, in terms of the season, the highlights really are bringing the team together and seeing a philosophy come out on the pitch, how you can embed a style of play with those players that are really, really enthusiastic, and obviously it culminated in that success that you're talking about. But that year we took TNS to its highest league finish in the English system ever. We took them to the final of the Shropshire County Cup and won the Shropshire County Cup, which was a really enjoyable occasion. But the cup run was something special, and it was a great memory for the players to go on an overnight stop to Newcastle, a team at that stage that were flying high in their division, and to beat them 2-1 away, and the bus ride home was just something special.
It was indeed, because I was part of that as well. Thoroughly enjoyed that season and also the experience. And I'm sure the girls themselves will remember. You came back, you returned a second time here at Park Hall. What brought you back here?
Well, it was a magnificent opportunity. As I say, I had capital in the launch of a national league, and I was able to bring that back and support Ian Williams in, Jill Jones and obviously Mike and Helen Harris in setting up the team back in a top division. I was at the stage in my career where I was looking to retire. I was looking for something else. So again, it was just an aligning of the stars really. And I'm very fortunate that they've shown their trust and faith in me and given me the opportunity, which, you know, has proven to be in the end a successful season.
And back to the start of the season, or even just before it, you had a clean sheet, so that's positive in some ways, but you were starting from scratch, so that could actually be considered a negative in that sense. Pros and cons, I guess, looking back.
Yeah, and I guess we wouldn't change anything. You know, when you're working with a new set of players, you get the opportunity to create a vision together and to all move together. And we're very fortunate that the group of players that have come together have bought in lock, stock and barrel to everything that we've done. Of course, you know, that blank piece of paper that you're talking about has required the skills and attributes and the capital of absolutely everybody to pull it together to where it is today. You know, I don't just mean the coaching staff of Greg and Sarah, supported by James and Nicola, who've done an absolutely amazing job in helping with all of that, but obviously in the background, you know, the likes of you guys in the media and marketing, the guys in the back office, the guys here in the clubhouse, but in particular Ian Williams and Jill Jones that have been a support right the way through with everything that we've needed. So yeah, it was possibly the hardest, most challenging year that it could possibly have been, because to start literally with no squad and have to pull a squad together, and the players that we got who hadn't played really for 2 years because of COVID, young players who'd missed years of development and hadn't come through a talent pathway and weren't known really to TNS, to do what we've done and how we've done it, you know, is hugely satisfying.
We'll come to the final 4 games in due course, but prior to that, 2 victories, 1 draw, 13 defeats. What range of emotions were going through your mind during the course of those fixtures?
Yeah, really interesting question that. We were quite relaxed at the start, despite the fact that we are all very competitive and want to win. We were quite, calm in the sense that we knew it was going to be a difficult start. I guess the genuine blip there was the second game against Barry, where, we took a bit of a pounding, but we recovered well from that. So we weren't too dispirited having lost our first 4 games, because we always knew that it was going to take some time to work into the season. I guess when we did start to work into the season after that first game and then another draw, it was a little bit dispiriting, because we then never pushed on through the autumn. And the main reason for that was because the players didn't have the sort of base level of fitness that was required to train twice a week on this pitch and to compete at that level week in and week out. So it took some time to develop that. So when you sit in, 2 points adrift at Christmas and you are bottom of the league, you're a little bit concerned, but we always targeted the back end of the season and the split as a moment where we needed to be ready. So there was a lot of work through the winter. We never got off to the best start in phase 2. So to sit 5 points adrift with 4 games to play, there was a little bit of concern, I can't lie there, but we kept faith, we kept belief, and as I say, we drew on all of our experience and all of our knowledge as a group of players, as a group of staff, as a team, as a club, to get through and be sitting where we are today.
And with just 2 victories in the first 16 games, as you say, 5 points adrift with 4 to play, you won all 4 of those games. What was the secret?
I think the secret is patience, time and belief, if I'm brutally honest. Obviously, certain things that we said as a group, which, I'll keep to myself if you don't mind, helped galvanise the group, and it brought out the true character of the players that were in the group. But obviously, as we went, Port Talbot went as well. They moved step by step with us. So to then start to win games but not close the gap was obviously a little bit perturbing. We were very lucky that obviously we had to play Port Talbot twice in that, and we knew that they were must-win games. We went with 4 games to play to Port Talbot, and we knew that if we lost that game, we were 8 points adrift and only 9 points to play for. So that was the pivotal moment, really, with game day 17, where we had to go to Port Talbot and win. We won emphatically with a 3-0 victory on that day, and that really set us up with the belief that we could then go on a run and win the last 3 games, because we knew that the bottom 5 teams, I include Aberystwyth within that, were very much on a level with each other, and each team each week could beat each other. But as was proven, as those 4 games played out, we couldn't rely on anybody else to get results for us, so if we hadn't have done what we'd have done, we would have gone down. So we had to win every single game, and we knew that.
And especially that game away at Port Talbot, massive pressure on everyone, needed to win that one to even have a chance of staying up. But full credit not only to the staff, to the backroom people involved, but also to the players as well. You must have been particularly pleased after that visit to South Wales. Did you then begin to believe, realistically, yes, we can and we will do this?
I think there is some moments when you're in the dressing room and you look the players in the eye and they look you in the eye. Everybody just knows you can rely on the person next to you, the person opposite you, and nobody's going to let anybody down. And that was certainly one of those days. As you say, we knew that it was a must-win game. Full credit to the players. The character that they've shown over those 4 games has been absolutely incredible, and that will live long in the memory as well. But credit to the coaching staff as well, because you're mentioning stress, you're mentioning pressure, you're mentioning possibly the biggest game of these players' young lives, and we had to keep them in a really, really good headspace. If we'd have built the pressure, they'd have just crumbled. So we were as relaxed as we possibly could be going into those moments, trusting and believing in the qualities that we had to be able to beat our opponent, not just in that game but the 3 games that came after that. And I think, not just the results, but the manner of the performances, and actually the score lines demonstrate that as a group, that the dressing room were able to control all of those emotions and anxieties to an extent and a level that just belied their years, really.
As you've already mentioned, Andy, those last 4 games, we began to put the wins together, but also so did the teams around us as well. For the neutral, looking on, it was quite exciting, but what was it like going through the second game, the third game, up to the final game of the season, knowing that we were getting the wins, but also other teams were as well?
Yeah, it's, the image is of that elegant swan, isn't it, above the water. You're trying to project this stage face of, calm and belief, and underneath there's all of the energy, the adrenaline and the anxiety that's running alongside that, and that was true in this case as well. It's about trying to hide that and trying to squash that. As I say, the longer that you go in this game, the more of those moments you experience, and you learn to live with that. You learn to take that as part and parcel of the game. You got at the end, cross the white line and trust and belief in the team that you're picking, in the players that are in the group, that they're going to be able to do the business, so to speak. And that's what we did, and fortunately, it all panned out as we hoped.
And if that game against Port Talbot away was a massive one, a must-win fixture, likewise the final game of the season here at Park Hall, what was it like coming out of the dressing room onto the pitch? Nerves, apprehension, confidence, perhaps a combination of all of those things just gelling around together at the same time?
Yeah, I'd woken up that morning and my wife had a little conversation with me. I forget what the conversation went like, but my parting words to her was, "It's good today, we've got this, there's no problem, we'll be all right today." And when the players came in and I spoke to them individually, I could sense, the level of focus in their eyes and in their voice. Yes, there were, a couple of nerves underneath because it was such a big occasion, such a big moment. Everybody knew that. The whole season was riding on that game. But again, massive credit to the players to be able to come out and play and hold it all together in the way that they did. I think it's fair to say at moments during those last 4 games we rode our luck. Again, in that game, we 1-0 up. We'd scored right on half-time, but before we got the second, Port Talbot hit the bar. So there is a little bit of adrenaline, there is a little bit of anxiety, because we knew the score in the other game, so we knew that we had to get a second to secure the win, because if Port Talbot equalised, we were going down. And we spoke about that at half-time: don't settle for 1, push for 2. When you get 2, push for 3. And that's exactly what the players did. And I think, the manner in which we came out in the second half and controlled the game helped to, control the nerves across the rest of the group. So, yeah, all good in the end.
It was a comfortable victory come the final whistle, and as the goals started to go in, also the clock was ticking down as well. At what point during the game did you look out there and think, yes, we've done it?
Probably 3-0. I think when you're at 3-0, you're home and dry. We could sense that as each of the goals went in, their heads dropped a little bit more, and we knew that really we'd burst their bubble. That's obviously difficult for us, because that's never a nice moment, but it's a little bit like a boxing match. It was our survival that was on the line, so full credit to the professionalism of the players to go out and continue to do that. I wouldn't really say that we were able to enjoy the last 10 or 15 minutes, if I'm perfectly honest, because again, I've been around long enough to see miraculous turnarounds in games. So at that stage, you just want the ref to blow the whistle, so you can then go and celebrate the achievement.
And I think if we call the season the Great Escape, I don't think that's selling it short, is it?
Well, not the way it's been described. Bottom at Christmas, 5 points adrift with 4 games to play, 4 must-win games. The fact that we were bottom of the league 15 out of 20 weeks, is absolutely incredible. To actually then finish 6th is quite a remarkable achievement, and that was a league high for us. We were 6th on match day 1, we were 6th on match day 20, and I think at Christmas time when you and I spoke, the plan really was to focus on the last 6 games and make sure we got as many points as we could to finish outside of 8th place. And I'm really proud of what everybody has achieved, in particular the players, who've absolutely blown me over.
And there is a split, of course, in the women's system as per the men's. and come that final whistle, from staring relegation in the face a few weeks previously, you were just on the tails of Pontypridd Town.
Yeah, and I think, as I say, you know, that shows where the level of the team is at the moment with the others that are around us. You know, we're in particular 4th place and 5th place. That's up to us now to go away this summer, to rejuvenate, to maybe add 1 or 2 players to the squad, and to look at what is it that we can actually do better next year, whether that's training regimes, whether it's small details such as set pieces, or whether it's mindset, or whatever it might be. So we're already planning. You know, we've obviously been off now for 8 or 9 days, but the game hasn't stopped. You know, I took Monday off after the final game because I was emotionally shattered, but from there, you know, nothing has stopped. The planning continues. We're already looking at pre-season, we're already looking at training plans, etc., and we've already had check-ins with all of our players. So we're very busy behind the scenes, despite the fact that there's nothing out there as a public face of what the team is doing at the moment, and our ambitions are very much how can we now use this as a springboard for next season.
Well, you've already answered the final question there. Looking ahead to next season, Andy Williams, as always, it's been a great pleasure. What a fantastic season it was. Come that final whistle, and on behalf of everyone at the New Saints, all the very, very best for the upcoming campaign as well.
Thank you.